It's dream phone. Basically, you have to find out who has a crush on you. So you have to like call all these numbers. And then it's like a recording of like, this guy's really good at sports.
Is it like an actual device? Is it an actual
Yeah, it's a
device?
phone. It's a pink phone that you dial. But yes, I had to buy it because it was one of those games that was just like too high tech for my parents to understand at the time.
I always wanted Monopoly, actually, but they always told me that I had no one to play with, and they were right. Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise.
Where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
And I'm Michelle. Edwin, you're on a plane. Possibly a Boeing plane.
Oh, geez. That reminds me of the if it's Boeing, I ain't going.
Where'd that come from? I like it.
I think it was an Instagram comment.
But anyway, you're a nervous flyer. This is the first time you've been on a plane in a while. You have a drink. You flip through the channels on your in-flight screen. Everything is fine. You'll be home soon. You're feeling good. You're mentally sound. Everything's fine. But yes, you did have just a little delicate mental breakdown a little bit ago. So, which we've all been there. It's no big deal.
True.
That's when you see it. There's a strange creature on the wing of the plane. How could this be? You are traveling at high speeds and altitudes, and anything out there would freeze to death. You blink. The creature is now face to face with you in the window, breathing on the glass.
Oh.
You can see it fogging the glass with its breath as it stares you deep in the eyes. I mean, how would you feel seeing that? You know, you're almost on a plane every week, so.
No, like, Like, what is it? Like, what does it look like? Is it like a human face? Is it like a bird? Is it?
I kind of like left it. I'm going like a little goblin-esque thing.
Oh.
But this has got to be your mind playing tricks on you, right? Like, the doctor said, don't drink on the brain meds. You get it. This is what they're talking about. So you put your drink down, you focus on your screen, like you're going to just watch some TV. You know, the Office reruns are playing in front of you. You take a deep breath. You shut your eyes. Another deep breath. You look back at the window. The creature is now staring at your screen, also watching The Office. It feels you look at it and gives you a little smile, then does a backflip away from the window, further down the wing. Hee-hee! It holds eye contact with you, but slowly kneels down and starts scratching at the wing, pulling and warping parts of the metal with its hands.
Oh, no.
Or claws. Hands or claws. You bang on the window. The thing is shredding the metal and dismantling the wing midair. The airplane's gonna crash. This is bad. Obviously, you're on high alert. All anxiety through the roof. You bang on the window, you try and stop the creature. It maintains eye contact with you, pulling the wing apart with a sick smile on its face. It's like a cat in its litter box and it's making direct eye contact with you while it's doing that. And it's like, it's strangely intimate, but also like a dominance thing. So anyway, that's what this thing is doing. It's shredding the wing.
Now, I would probably push that button and call the flight attendant.
You do. You call for the stewardess. You put that button. You're just like, there's something on the wing. And she takes a peek. She sees nothing.
Ooh.
And she's like, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. And you follow her gaze to the window. And nothing's out there. As she turns away, you see the creature pop up again, and it waves at you, and then continues to shred the wing.
Oh, jeez.
You're like, look, it's right there. Look, it's right there, you scream. Like, you're just like, oh, it's right there. The other passengers are getting nervous because you're acting nuts. I think we've all been on a plane at this point where maybe someone was a little bit weird. I literally was on a plane on my way to Ireland, and the guy next to me had a night terror in the middle of the night, so...
Yeah, you know what? I actually heard somebody crying, singing this flight, but I was so drowsy that I just kind of ignored it. But everybody was peeking. Like, it does make you nervous because you're like, what if something happened? Like, and you see all the flight attendants running up the aisle. It's weird. It's bizarre.
Well, and it's also like, am I going to have to do something? Like, am I going to have to stop somebody or what's going on? Like, you're going to need my belt to tie someone's arms with? I don't know, like what's going on? But anyway, the passengers are getting nervous. You're acting irrational. Don't you see it? It's right there. The plane is going to crash and we're all going to die.
Oh, no. That gets you kicked out of a flight. Like, you can go to jail for that, I think.
The stewardess is like, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. You're upsetting the other passengers. And you won't calm down. How can nobody see this thing on the wing ripping it apart? The creature waves and smiles at you. You stand up and you run down the aisle. We've got to land this plane. It's going to crash. At this moment, an air marshal steps in, along with every other stewardess and alpha male on the plane. Someone tackles you to the ground, and you feel restraints being put on you as you start to pass out. You hear over the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be making an emergency landing for a medical emergency. We apologize for the delay." You look out the window from the ground. You see the little creature looking at you. It smiles before the world finally goes black. When you wake up, the plane is on the ground. You are strapped to a stretcher being put in an ambulance. You start screaming as they shut the doors. "Check the wing! Check the wing!" For the remaining passengers on the plane, it's been an unnerving day. They're still on the tarmac when the captain crackles on the radio. "Sorry for the delay, folks. We've just been hit with some more bad news. Maintenance has found some strange gashes to the wing. We won't be departing after all." This elicits angry groans from the passengers and the faintest giggle. Hee hee! My story that I just told is based on that Nightmare at 2,000 Feet, that episode of The Twilight Zone, if you guys have ever seen it. Yeah, with William Shatner. It's a classic episode. The thing is I'm sure Boeing would love this kind of excuse of there being like a weird little thing on the wing for what's going on. Because airline or technology gremlins are nothing new. These folklore creatures have taken much of the blame for malfunctions in machinery around the world since World War II.
Around technology, you said?
Yeah, the technology gremlins. Gremlins are a specific thing geared toward technology. They're different.
Interesting. That's really cool.
And actually, there's a bunch of military posters that have slogans like, "Gremlins think it's fun to hurt you. Use care always. Gremlins are floor greasers. Watch your step. Gremlins love to pitch stuff at your eyes. Wear your goggles."
Wow. Okay, so first time I ever hear of something like that. That's really cool.
Gremlins as a concept was popularized during World War II among airmen of the Royal Air Force, RAF, described as little men that would sabotage aircraft. And I think of like a leprechaun, a Tommyknocker, a goblin, an imp, like that kind of thing. Although in these posters, they are just like little men, tiny men that are tripping people in grease and stuff like that. So,
like just some little mischievous little...
Yeah, described as little men that would sabotage an aircraft. Flight crews would blame these scissor-wielding gremlins for inexplicable accidents, which sometimes occur during flights, because it was a new technology at that time. And some people say this actually tracks back to World War I, but apparently there's no documents per se, because this was like a part of the campaign in World War II. This was part of the folklore in World War II, especially among British soldiers and the British Air Force. Gremlins were also thought at one point to have enemy sympathies, but investigations revealed that enemy aircraft had similar and equally inexplicable mechanical problems. As such, gremlins were portrayed as equal opportunity tricksters, taking no sides in the conflict, but acting out of their own mischievous and self-interest.
See, they don't pick sides. They just go against everyone.
Yep, they're just little shits. It is argued that this folklore became morale boosting during the war, and it might have even helped win the war, because gremlins were a form of deflecting blame, being the scapegoat, which became super important to morale during the war, because it's far easier to blame a fantastic comical little creature that it is to blame a member of your own squad if, say, your oil leaks out of your plane. Instead of being mad at Johnny, you can be mad at a little gremlin that sabotaged you, clearly.
That's kind of nice.
I know. The gremlin lore actually spread beyond the Royal Air Force by author Roald Dahl. His story Gremlins sold 50,000 copies in 1943. Dahl had his own experience in an accidental crash landing in the western desert when he ran out of fuel. It was there that he wrote his first children's novel, The Gremlins, in which the gremlins were the tiny men who lived on RAF fighters. And then this went on to inspire, there's the movie Gremlins, there's the Simpsons episode, obviously the Twilight Zone episode that I talked about earlier, and there's like too many things to mention. It's like that spread that Gremlins folklore everywhere. But also there were a lot of men coming home from the war who were said to have encountered gremlins.
Whoa, like actual encounters.
Yeah, like actual encounters that tinkered with their equipment. One crewman swore he saw one before an engine malfunction that caused his B-25 Mitchell bomber to rapidly lose altitude, forcing the aircraft to return to base. Folklorist John W. Hazen likewise offers his own alleged eyewitness testimony of these creatures, describing an occasion where he found a parted cable which bore obvious tooth marks, in spite of the fact that the break occurred in the most inaccessible part of the plane. At this point, Hazen states, he heard a gruff voice demand, "How many times must you be told to obey orders and not tackle jobs you aren't qualified for? This is how it should be done." Upon which Hazen heard a musical twang, twang, and another cable was parted. So another cable broke after.
What?
Yeah, gremlins are weird. They just hate technology. They want to destroy it, and they make things go wrong in everything that is technological. I mean, it's so interesting to see this come up. Number one, it's used for morale during war, but also this type of description of this type of creature would not exist without the Industrial Revolution. Without machinery, there's no such thing as a gremlin in machinery.
Jeez, it just sounds creepy though, like to see.
On the William Shatner Twilight Zone episode, it's like a man in an ape costume.
I guess they struggled a little bit with visuals back then, and people actually believe this?
Critics, of course, claim that, the stress of combat, the dizzying heights would cause hallucinations, right? I mean, you're in a plane at war.
That makes sense, yeah.
It makes sense that it might have been a coping mechanism just to help explain the problems that happen during combat when something goes wrong.
So yeah, it makes sense. Like the fumes.
The fumes, not exactly the most safe environment to be in. So hallucinations, possible. I don't know. I bet Boeing would love to attribute all their problems with the Max to the gremlins, don't you think? It would be a really nice get out of jail free card.
I need to check my flight right now.
Yeah, you don't want to be on a Max, dude.
I think it's a Max.
That's bad news. But anyway, I just want to link back to the iconic William Shatner episode of The Twilight Zone, because there's an episode of The Muppets where Miss Piggy sees a gremlin on the outside of the airplane through the window.
Are all those references to the same thing?
Yeah, all of it's referencing that episode. But anyway, William Shatner's sitting next to her on the plane, and and as he claims that he's been complaining about the gremlin for years, but nobody does anything about it. Which I love.
Oh, I found it. It's Nightmare at 20,000 feet.
Yeah. It's an iconic episode. I mean, it's in The Simpsons. Bart sees a thing on a plane and like no one believes it. I mean, like it's a reference for everything. A lot of Twilight Zone episodes are like that. They're just so ingrained now.
Wow.
Rod Sterling's a very good writer.
At the end, did they recognize that it was the guy that, I guess at the end of your story, about the wing?
So at the end of the story, they just take him away in a straitjacket. And they do find the damage, but they don't like acknowledge that he was right. He's lost his mind.
That sucks, but okay.
That's why it's relevant that he has had a mental breakdown already, because he's already delicate. So he's got to be taken away. But yeah, I just love that William Shatner's sitting next to Miss Piggy and like validating her seeing the gremlin on the
That's a creepy image, though.
The
With
wing
the
of the
Twilight
plane.
Zone
Oh, yeah.
cover or whatever. Like just the main image of the thing looking at the window. That's a huge window.
I know. Well, it's a huge gremlin. The gremlin is like a man in a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you'd like the Twilight Zone stuff.
You know what? Gremlins, or what I think of like duendes and goblins and all those things, are known to be very mischievous creatures that mess around, hide your stuff, hide your keys, drop things. Like they just want to mess with you. So it makes sense that the gremlin idea. But gremlins for me are creepier, like creepy looking.
Well, I know. There's also that movie, just Gremlins, I guess, where it's like Gizmo and which they're cute in that. The gremlins are cute there.
Oh, geez. No, I just remember that weird, ugly one. And they turn into, you feed them after, is that the feed?
Yeah, you feed them after midnight or something like that, and then they turn into that weird thing. Or you get them wet.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Apparently, in the Roald Dahl lore, it's like, oh, what do gremlins eat? Postage stamps? I'm just like, wait, so they ride on Royal Air Force planes and then they eat postage stamps?
They fly on the wing.
Yeah, I'm not understanding. How does this work? I guess that does sound like a hallucination if you really think about it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but I mean.
Look, hey, it helped win the war.
That's all they need. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gremlins, for your service.
Yeah, morale boosters that are gremlins.
It's like pizza parties.
Yeah, just like pizza parties. Yeah. Anyway, what are we going to talk about next week, Edwin?
I don't know. I think it'll be a surprise.
Scary Mystery Surprise is hosted by Michelle Newman and
Edwin Covarrubias. This podcast was edited and sound designed by Sarah Vorhees Wendel of VW Sound.